Yo, what's up, guys? Repeated that non-knowingness.
Emang sih kecuali bicara mau mapping gua segitu. Amin.
Yeah. Oh, itu tapi dosa pergi ke
Uga ini kemana ku?
And sit back when you get that. Yeah. Punch in the head. You know what fucking creature comes. Show you something.
I found a picture of my mother in a 300-year-old book. I'm now convinced I'm going to be dead tomorrow. This is a 300-year-old book, the librarian told me. Please don't damage it in any way. Otherwise you will be in all sorts of trouble.
Why the hell would I want to take an
I will be back in half an hour to collect it. I hope you find what you need. I looked down at the book and saw that written in green ink were the words, "Creatures." The title was in the center of the cover, and underneath the words was a small image of what looked like a red dragon. I admired the artwork for a moment before carefully opening the book. I carefully lifted each page and placed them down gently, not wanting to get into trouble. I looked through the many pages of the book, each one with a different painting of a creature, which underneath had a paragraph explaining what the creature was and where it could be found. I looked through the pages trying to find the three that I wanted to write about. I read about the bone.
They'd be like watching seven more fucking seriously.
So this gamer is now in prison for life. Now the gamer's name is David. And David is 21, living in Germany. And bro, he's a gamer and he's really into this game called Advanced Wars. And one day in 2008, he finds this fan site dedicated to the game. And he starts spending a lot of time there in the community forum. And on the site, he meets this woman, Joanna. Joanna's 21, she lives in England, and she founded the site. And immediately, David is into her. He thinks she is foreign. However, Joanna has a boyfriend, this guy, Matthew. And Matthew's 20. He also founded and runs the Advanced Wars fan site that they all use. But David doesn't seem to care. He still wants her. And over time, he becomes more and more infatuated with her. Like, he is obsessed. And he really doesn't hide it all that well. He's always messaging her on her social media accounts, telling her how amazing she is and how into her he is and how she's the only woman for him. And Joanna, she's definitely not feeling David romantically. She's happy with Matthew. They share an apartment together. Plus, David's a weird guy. Like, he's kind of an incel. And so she doesn't want to be rude to him or anything like that. So she tries to let him down easy. But David just won't stop. He keeps stalking her on her social media platforms. In fact, he goes harder. Over time, his messages get even more intense and more sleazy. And if that isn't bad enough, at some point, David decides that sending messages to Joanna isn't enough. He needs to go meet up with her in person in England. And so he somehow gets her address from another member on the gaming site. Then, without telling Joanna or Matthew what he's about to do, he travels from Germany all the way over to England. And there, he just shows up to their door unannounced, and he starts knocking. And Joanna and Matthew, they aren't home, but they're walking back from a bar, and they spot him outside their apartment, and they're like, what the fuck? Now, Matthew is a nice guy. He doesn't want to be rude to David. I mean, they feel bad for him. They think he's, a little off in the head. So they invite him in for a bit. Now, immediately, they realize he doesn't have a place to stay. So Joanna gets on the phone, and she starts calling around to local hostels to see if they can find a room for David. And she calls, and she calls, and she calls. And she ends up calling 25 different places, but none of them have any vacancies. And so David is like, oh, that's fine. I'll just stay here with you guys. And, they don't want to throw him out on the street, so they're like, all right, fine. You can sleep here on the floor for the night. Here's the thing, though. Their apartment is really small, so really the only place he can sleep is on their carpet, which is in their bedroom. And so bro is sleeping in their bedroom now, and Joanna hates this. Like, she's creeped out all night with this weird-ass dude on her floor. The next day, Joanna and Matthew, I guess, they finally find him a hotel, and they send him on his way. And for the next month, David stays in England, visiting people who were also involved in the community forum, people who know Joanna and Matthew. And the whole time he's with each of these people, pretty much all he talks about is how much he likes Joanna, which these community forum members find super weird. Not only that, he starts going back to Joanna's apartment periodically and leaving love notes outside for her to find when she comes home from work. Dude is just not gonna quit. Now, after about a month, he goes back to Germany and he continues living his life, playing games and whatnot. And at this point, rumors have gotten back to Matthew. People from the community forum hit him up, and they're like, when that David guy was here visiting, all he talked about was your girlfriend. And this pisses Matthew off, and he's starting to realize that David is actually bad news. He is not going to let this slide. And so he goes to the Advanced Wars fan site they run, and in the community, he posts a really long post called The 19 Reasons I Hate David Heiss. And in this post, he lays out what a creep he thinks David is, and all this. He basically talks about how much he hates him. And of course, everyone in the forum reads it, and now they all think he's a creep, which a lot of them already thought that anyway. And so then David sees this post, and now he's all pissed off, and things escalate. And David and Matthew, they start fighting online. And this is when David finally snaps. He decides it's time to go back and get his revenge on Matthew. And so he borrows his uncle's car, and he drives all the way to Nottingham, England, where Joanna and Matthew live. And there, I guess he's out on the street near their apartment, and Joanna actually spots him from afar, and she rightly freaks the fuck out. And from there, I guess David chickens out, and he just goes right back to Germany. But now Joanna realizes shit is getting real. And so she sends him a message basically telling him to get psychiatric help. and he writes her back. And he says, Joe, one day I'll break my promise and come back to Nottingham and offer you a knife or something and tell you to kill me because I don't want to live without you. Now, of course, she's really freaked out, so she and Matthew immediately ban him from the community forum and she cuts off all contact with him. And a couple of months go by, and cutting off contact must have worked because they don't hear anything more from David. So, problem solved. Until back in Germany, David comes up with an insane plan to try and win Joanna back. He's going to unalive Matthew and stage it to look like Matthew unalived himself. And so he flies from Germany back to England again. And there he goes straight over to Joanna and Matthew's building. And he doesn't knock on the door or anything like that or try and go inside. Instead, he camps out in a sleeping bag near an AC unit overnight. The next morning, Joanna leaves for work, and David is nearby watching her leave. As soon as she leaves the building, David enters it, and he goes upstairs, up to her and Matthew's door, and he knocks, and he pulls out a knife. Then Matthew answers, and as soon as he opens the door, boom, David attacks him, and he stabs him again and again and again until Matthew stops moving. He stabbed him 86 times. And this is such a brutal attack that David now knows he can't make it look like Matthew did this to himself. Matthew couldn't have stabbed himself 86 times. And so David decides to make it look like a robbery gone wrong. So he starts trashing the place, knocking things over, dumping out drawers. Then he leaves and he flies back to Germany. Here's the thing though, Matthew actually didn't die immediately. When David left the apartment, he was still barely alive. So he uses his last little bit of energy and he uses his own blood to write the letters D-A-V on the side of his computer monitor. The first 3 letters of David's name, so that everyone will know who did this to him. Those 3 letters are all he can manage before he, unfortunately, passes away. And of course, this clue, combined with all the well-documented stalking, lead police to know exactly who did this. And eventually, German police show up to David's door, and bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And David is extradited back to England, and he's found guilty, and he's sentenced to 18 years to life in prison. So this gamer is now in prison for life. Now, the gamer's name is David.
Can you spot the difference? That's right, there's no difference. So that's $50 saved every month.
At CQ University, we know excellence can take many forms.
Let me tell you something. No. I think this dirty blood is Einstein. No, I'm not. I think we are gonna turn him into copy lane mechanism. What is this dirty blood doing? You should have let me go, buddy. What is this dirty blood doing on the calculator? It's Einstein. Let's make this quick. I got dinner reservations at 8 o'clock. Let me tell you something.
Take down all the mirrors in my house. I hate my nose, eyes, and my mouth. I hate the jokes I laugh about. I hate the hoes I'm sad about. She calls up my phone. Ring it, baby, just leave me alone. She saw all my flaws, baby, won't you tell me what the fuck I'm doing wrong? I hate the feeling of my doubts. I wanna die on top of my couch. Oh well. What do you want from me? I'm never ever good for anything. Why do you talk to me? I'll never ever find a wedding ring. I have a question.
Moved before the race, 1 kilos lighter, fine for it. You can really tell that it's a powerful racehorse. can tell by the way that's moving its head. Wink is a good idea today. What is? What the? Why does bro have so much stuff? Oh my gosh. Holy W's. Wait, what's right here? Oh my. Why did everything slag? W's. Holy. S4. W.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at this.